Hello, everybody. Welcome to the EU Wayback Machine, episode 2, where we discuss
It still
four
says
issues.
scheduled for me. Does it say live for you?
It does say live for me.
Okay, cool.
So either something went terribly wrong, or no,
Something went terribly right.
yeah, maybe it's destiny that we don't have it go. But
It says live for me.
Okay, good.
cool. So we're just
My
going
bad.
through these 4 issues, the Aduba 3 comics, with some fantastic characters that back in the olden days got ripped on, but now some of them are in Disney canon. So clearly they are more popular than we were led to believe they were. But we'll see their origins here, where they first showed up in these particular issues. But it's gonna be a little different from last time. Last time, obviously, I couldn't show you a movie because that live stream would have been gone. But we did talk about the movie and some of the other material that centered around the movie to kind of give you some nice fun times with that. But this, we're just going to kind of go through the comics as if we were reading them for the first time and kind of talk about it at the end of each issue, and we'll call that a day.
It starts on issue 7 because we discussed issues 1 to 6 last time.
Yes,
I'd say were adaptations of the film. Yeah.
I think it even says. Does it say at the bottom of the? No, it doesn't. There's somewhere where it says,
There's somewhere where it says like
at last beyond the movie, beyond the galaxy.
Yeah.
All right, and then we got grab a laser gun. Chewie got us surrounded. And then
I like your
something that
Ford.
stood out to me immediately is that these specific issues lean very hard into the Western aspect.
Yes, they do.
Very hard, which I'm pro, by the way. I love that. I think that's great.
It's basically, well, this will be the next issue, but it's kind of like Magnificent Seven, but with Han Solo in space is basically the plot of the story. If you've seen the old Western Magnificent Seven, which was based on the Japanese film The Seven Samurai, the idea of 7 heroes going into a town and saving farmers from someone who's been stealing from them is the basic plot of that Western film. So it's almost a direct take off of the Western film, but with Han in space in Star Wars, which I think is really cool.
Absolutely. At one point, I think Han even says, "I'd give my star spurs for that." I think that's on the next page, actually.
And they're talking so much about star hoppers at this point. I think they're constantly calling each other star hoppers, and I think that's just another name for spacers. It's people who go from planet to planet throughout the galaxy. It's just like pilots and stuff. I believe, so. Right? But it's funny that
everything has like different terminology at the moment, which you would expect is like the first thing published. But it is very weird to go back to.
It's strange. It is. It's especially strange when we get a 8-foot-tall green rabbit shortly, but not necessarily bad strange. I love these issues. I think these issues are so fun. It's like the writers were like, well, shoot, we did the movie, so what are we going to do now? And, well, this panel's the start of that. And I think it's a really wacky and really fun story overall. I really enjoyed everything about this arc.
I'd go a step further. I think now upon reread, I could change my mind on this, but from what I remember, this was like a really strong start to the Marvel era, and might still be my favorite of the pre-Empire comics.
I definitely concur with you. I'd go so far as to say it's probably a top 10 arc in the entire Marvel series for me. It's some of my favorite stuff. I'm a big Han guy though, so maybe that's why it's Han focused. Another thing that I'm noticing with this panels, but it reminds me, these are like the most wordy comics ever, which is just a product of its time. But Star Wars comics were even more wordy maybe than regular Marvel comics of the day.
Oh, yeah, they were.
They were just so wordy. Like you're reading it and it's almost like a book at times. You're just like waiting to get to the next panel because you've got so much catch-up reading to do. It's really funny.
As someone who loves this era of comics, I love X-Men of this time period, I love Spider-Man of this time period. Roy Thomas, who's the writer of this, he does All-Star Squadron a little bit later, but it's still like the same era. These are extremely wordy for the time. I can say that much. I will say I definitely prefer X-Men and Spider-Man and all those, but these are still good. They are not as egregious as the Transformers comics of the same time period. I went back. Our friend Marcel, who does the Legends of the Jedi channel, he recently got into those, and he sent me a text like, I cannot. This is like reading like a Wikipedia article. I'm like, yeah. They had to introduce all 18 Autobots on the same page, and then all 10 Decepticons on the same page. So a little bit worried.
Also, if you notice, I mentioned it in the previous page, but it actually to say, as seen in the last issue's conclusion of our adaptation of the film. So finally, continuing the saga begun in the film by George Lucas. So they're definitely advertising that this is taking place after the movie, which is really cool.
And notice it says continuing the saga as well.
Yes.
So
yes.
it's not like
no,
this
they didn't
is
know.
own thing.
Yeah,
this is part of the Star Wars story.
Yeah,
that was clearly the intention behind the publishing.
Yeah, until Bantam came along, and it got kind of muddied until Kevin J. Anderson would make that explicitly clear.
Yeah,
which is cool. Along with having Lumaya in Legacy of the Force, but I also like because I'll be honest, while I love these Marvel comics, it was a special place in my heart. I personally prefer the newspaper strips by Archie Goodwin, so I'm glad to see that he's a consulting editor here. But yeah, so we're just gonna go through these comics. We're just gonna read them together. It'll be fun, do some voices. I know that
Scott and Robert, before we get on with the comics, what do you guys think of these?
Oh yeah, sorry.
So I thought for its time and the place in which it came out, it captured the feel of Star Wars pretty well, despite being like the only thing in existence at that time. I know the stories are wacky, but they're at least creative, and I think they capture the spirit of Star Wars especially well, considering they're one of the only stories out there, and they didn't really have much source material to go off of at that point. I mean, they truly did not have any source material. So given all that, I give them credit. I don't think they're my favorite as far as Star Wars Marvel series go overall, but in general, I thought they did okay. They're not bad. The stories are a little wacky, especially if you read them in 2024, but they do the job fine for the era in which they're written.
Alrighty.
Robert?
Robert, yeah.
So I read this issue last night, and the three after that earlier today, in fact, when I got back from the dentist. But I have a loose collection of notes here, and at the top I've written "Friendly Han."
Yeah,
I'm a nice guy sometimes.
He's super nice in these. He is.
Yes.
That is very
like nice men. I can be nice men.
Well, I think it actually works really well if you think about it in juxtaposition to episode 5 coming out, because episode 5 he only starts acting like that again because he's trying to go away so he can finally pay off Jabba, and then circumstances keep getting him stuck to stay. So, but like,
and he's just gotten these friends. We know that he's come back for Luke at the end of episode 4. He's stuck around. He's gotten a medal.
Yeah, we know that he cares. We know that deep down he's a good person by the end of the film, and so it's good to see him actually being consistently that in these comics. It's just that he needs to pay off Jabba, and as we'll see consistently in these early issues, he keeps getting sidetracked and being unable to do what he needs to do to get Jabba off his back, which will have consequences when we get to episode 5. So I like it. I think my favorite era of these Marvel comics is from episode 4 to 5 of that 3-year gap where we get that all filled in. Episode 5 to 6, in between that, I don't care about as much. Not that I don't love Lando.
Post episode 6 is really fun too, in my opinion.
Post episode 6, and then this era here was my favorite. But the after Empire Strikes Back is a little for me.
See, 5 to 6 is my absolute favorite. I think those are far and above the best. So it's weird that we have totally different opinions.
It's 108 issues, I suppose. So there's lots of different eras, writers, different art styles, different feels. So I think most people who enjoy the run will have different spots, probably a favorite. I know Joe Bongiorno's favorites are stuff with Cody Sunchild. So
yes,
he
which is
has
during
his
the
own
Lando
focuses
era.
as well. He loves the one-off stories that are super wacky, like the one where they encounter that like living ship, which we'll get to later on. But
that's a good one.
There's lots of wacky stuff that goes down in these.
For me, it's the stuff with Lumaya / Shia Bree. Those are all my favorite issues. Every time she shows up, I think the story is really elevated because of it. I think she's just a really strong character. Probably
even Shira Bree stories, or just
especially
Lumaya?
the Shira Bree stories,
Shira
honestly.
Bree.
Especially because when Luke is like suspected as being a traitor, that's like my favorite issue.
Luke Skywalker, Pariah, right?
Yes. Oh, it's such a great cover. I can't wait to get to that one. But like her stuff where she's like where she's with Luke and Leia's getting jealous and she's like, oh my God, I told Han I love him, but maybe I love Luke. Now of course we know that is terrible. Don't love Luke. Do not love Luke. But they didn't know that at the time. So, but just taking it on its own terms, not knowing that George Lucas might make the biggest mistake of the original trilogy. It's pretty good. It's good drama.
Yeah. Do you guys have a favorite issue from this arc? Like 7's probably the most detached, because 7, what we're currently on, is Han moving away from the rebels, goes down on the planet, but the plot really starts moving with 8, where we get to meet the farmers and stuff, and the farmers hire out Han and all of them to go to the farm to protect from Sergi X Arrogantis, the greatest name ever.
So good.
Then there's issue 9, where Jackson's on it and he's saying that we're all gonna die, which is amazing.
We're all gonna die. Well, yeah, I imagine something like that. I don't know, like a Bugs Bunny sort of sound.
Like Bugs Bunny, yeah. And then I think there's issue 10, right, where the Kraken comes up as well. So
spoilers.
You guys have a favorite issue from the 7 to 10 run here?
I think I like 7 and 8 the best. 9
agree.
and 10 it gets a little bit disjointed, a little bit hard to follow. I know it's all one arc, but then there's a portion with Princess Leia in there, and it gets a little bit hard to follow. That you're not quite it's not quite in order, or something's like missing.
Yeah,
but I think it picks up especially well right after 7. I mean, we know where we are right after the film. We have Han leaving. He loses his money right away, as we'll see. And we're introduced to Crimson Jack, and then Don Juan Quixote, I think, is in the next issue. So I prefer 7 and 8, I think.
I completely agree with you. What about the rest of y'all?
I think 8 is my favorite. I think 8, if only just because of the introduction of all these kooky characters. I think those guys really make this arc sing.
I agree,
and not just because they're silly and they're one is a giant rabbit, but because they're actually really interesting. They're actually really interesting silly characters.
They're a fascinating,
my current
eclectic
D&D
bunch.
character. My current D&D character is a take on Don Juan Quixote. Now I know that's supposed to be Don Quixote, but I mean, like, when I saw him, I was like, that would make a great D&D character as a quixotic paladin, right? Someone who thinks they're paladin but is not. That I thought was awesome. Obviously Jackson. We all love Jackson here. Jackson's my favorite.
He's actually great. When I read these for the first time, because I'd always heard about like how that's one of the stupidest things about it, and I didn't believe it. Obviously,
love him.
People like
He's
to say
so
things.
Cool.
But I was like, well, maybe he is a little corny. And then I read it, and I'm like, well, not really. Actually, like he actually seems like somebody that could exist in this world.
He's
like,
really
enjoyably
funny.
Grumpy.
Yeah.
Yes.
He's Roger Rabbit without the funny.
I feel like he could have worked in one of the films. Like I know that George didn't like it, but something about it feels Star Warsy in some way. Like I could see someone in a suit with the ears.
Here's the issue.
All animatronic, talking to Harrison Ford, and Harrison Ford being annoyed that he's acting with a guy in a green rabbit suit. Like, I just think that would have been amazing on camera.
They definitely could have been done. You know why? Because we already had Howard the Duck.
Oh,
or it came later.
Technically, we didn't. No, that was 1986.
No, but I'm saying, but if they could do it in that, we could have totally had a rabbit, and I would have been so down.
I really think if it was just drawn a little less cartoony, It would
Yeah.
be people would be just like, oh, he kind of looks like a rabbit. If they drew him just so that there's ambiguity, that's like, oh, he just kind of looks like a rabbit, people would
I
not have
mean-
an issue. It's because he
I
looks like
think-
Bugs
I know,
Bunny
but
that people have an issue.
this is the
But
same universe that has
here's the-
cats
but here-
walking around talking.
Here's the thing. Here's the
Like-
thing. Here's my counterpoint to that. So what? It's cool.
Rule of
It's
cool.
good. I like it. I like
Yeah.
it. I think it's awesome. I think it's great to have this cartoon rabbit here.
Does everyone have a favorite
I
out of
also
the
think
8?
I also think the fact that Rocket Raccoon has now been done in live action makes
Mhm.
Jackson feel a bit more feasible.
Definitely.
Absolutely, that's a great point too. And everyone loves Rocket, and Rocket looks like he belongs in the
He
universe.
has some of the most depressing parts of any superhero movie I've ever seen. And
Yeah,
he's a CGI rodent.
it broke my
I mean,
heart.
the third one, he goes, I felt that. I could
I
totally
felt that
see
in my
Jackson making me
soul.
cry. So
Definitely.
That was a great movie.
Of the 8 characters that are the 8 for Aduba 3, other than Han and Chewie and Jackson, I guess that leaves 5. Do y'all have a favorite standout of the 5? Because if I was to pick a favorite out of the 8, I'd say Jackson is my
Right.
favorite of the 8 because he's just fun. But underrated, I think, is the Spiner, right? Hedgie's super cool.
I'd
in
completely
concept.
forgotten he existed.
Yeah, he's super overlooked. It's Jackson just hogs the screen time.
Is it more silly to have a hedgehog named Hedgie who shoots spines than it is to have someone who looks like a rabbit? I would argue that is sillier on just like a fundamental level, but I also think that's awesome. Like I think all of these guys are a little bit kooky and silly. I mean, they're obviously are all those things, but I think it's good that they are. I think that makes them stand out. I think that the best parts of Star Wars are the weird parts, like we keep saying. Why would you include a scene of a little teddy bear dying and then its friend mourning? That's deranged. Don't do that. Don't ever do that. But
or
he
the
did.
fat guy crying over the Rancor.
Crying over the Rancor. That's deranged. Why would you do that? But those things make Return of the Jedi better. These things make the Marvel comics better because they have an identity. You always go back to, remember Jackson the Rabbit? You remember Don Juan Quixote, who, by the way, that's my favorite. That's my vote. I think he's the most interesting. So
What do
much
y'all
so that
think of-
he is included in the RPG as a template. Funny enough.
I
What do y'all
actually
think
like.
of Jim the Star Killer kid? kind of ahead of his time.
My favorite's probably Jackson, followed by Amazer.
Nice.
Oh, she's good. I really liked her.
Yeah, she reminds me of. I was gonna mention her. She reminds me of a little bit of a Harley Quinn a bit. Like I hear her. I kind of hear her voice when she's talking.
I could see
And
it.
that's a little visual too, with the hair and just the look.
Yeah.
She does look a
can see
little new 52 Harley Quinn-y. No, that's good. I like Amaze. I think she's cool.
I think
that she would be
favorite
just a fine character to just continue to exist. Like I don't think of all of them, I think she's the least silly. The only thing that's silly about her is the outfit, and
product of the
Very
time.
of the time.
very much product of the time.
My least favorite is probably Effie, the droid. He was
Yeah.
just kind of there. He was just a
Whatever.
kind of useless droid.
I agree.
Yeah,
He
I
does
think
die
they're all
very
pretty
quickly.
good. I think they're all pretty good. Don Juan's probably my favorite. That's probably a cop out, but
Yeah.
I think they're all
No,
written
I mean,
at least uniquely that you remember them.
Yeah.
Right.
Don Juan's a solid choice. It's not a bad answer. So
On screen, we have the first appearance of Crimson Jack.
Crimson Jack, yes.
Look at that beautiful man. I love that there's a stormtrooper with them and a guy wielding a cutlass.
Well,
and
here's
then
the
we've
thing,
got
though.
platinum blonde buzz cut before it
Well,
was in style.
Yeah, but Brennan, these are pirates.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's a stormtrooper at all. I think it's just a guy that has a
Well, yeah,
suit, the guy.
has a suit, and I love that
Like-
implies that this guy's probably killed a Stormy at some point, right?
Yeah, sure.
taking
I
his
like this
armor,
guy
super
back
cool.
here. Like a little
Yeah.
thumb.
Yeah, and we see later in I think it's Droids, Kybo Ren, one of his crew actually has stormtrooper armor. Or I think several of their crew
Yeah,
have stormtrooper
Like on the
armor.
chest armor, right?
Yeah, so that's probably a callback to this in some way. So makes
Yeah.
sense. I like the pirate cutlass as well. There,
Yeah, it just straight up has a sword. Like it's not even.
And a blaster, so it's still Star Wars, but he does it in style.
Yeah.
I think something that's going to keep coming up throughout all of these Marvel issues is that the designs of the characters, especially early on, pre-Empire Strikes Back, are going to be super comic booky and very much of like this era of Marvel. So, Redbeard not having pants, having like a little like Speedo thing going on here, very much of the time. I would argue probably wouldn't see something like that in Star Wars. However, there's a lot of things in Star Wars, so you could probably prove that wrong relatively easily.
Jolly's
I would say
Jolly's hat, is that a beret?
I think so.
Like,
I
it's
believe
so
that,
weird.
yes.
I like
He's
it,
got a
though.
green
I
beret.
vibe
I
with
didn't
it.
like Jolly personally. I thought she was a little annoying
Really?
and flat as a character.
I didn't mind her.
She didn't make much of an impression on me, honestly. I like that she is just holding a revolver, though. Like that's just
Well,
cool.
in this one it looks a little different. But in this panel,
yeah.
this one.
One
It's
detail
weird.
I do like about this page is that it mentions that although his crew are all humans, they're from all over the place, all sorts of different planets, which,
Oh, that's cool. Yeah.
although we only had the one film at that point,
Yeah.
that was very
Spans the
much
world.
something that would end up being the case.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's very true. Early issue 1, they're already like giving you this idea of how expansive, how huge the galaxy is by saying they're from all over the stars. You know, it's cool. That's an awesome detail.
Yeah, for sure. Well, we got more of these panels. I think I'll have us actually start reading a bunch more when it's when we get to the characters we mentioned. But
they're stowing their stowed cargo, of course.
yeah, they're
under
taking the stuff that they just earned that they're going to use to pay off Jabba, and they're
Which
stealing all of it.
what did we say it was last time? It was batteries or equipment, something like that that the rebels gave them. I know because this came up last time, and you guys
It
told me
was either equipment or precious metals.
precious
that they had.
metals.
Yeah.
That's it. Okay, all right, yeah. So that's
Crimson Jack's huge smile. There is the face you make when you steal a bunch of precious metals and equipment.
But I also like that he's not like a straight up bad guy. I mean, he is, but he doesn't. I mean, it's just like old Marvel comics with the cheese of not killing people that you should probably kill. But he gives some justification here. He says, one day soon, we may again encounter Mr. Solo and his furry friend when they have another interesting cargo. That will hardly be true if we eliminate them now, won't it? Or will it?
Yeah,
I just think that's kind of a
He's-
I love
he's
Han
thinking
70s
ahead.
there in that panel.
He's a
This man
pragmatic
is
pirate.
playing chess while Han is playing checkers.
yeah.
He steps ahead here, and I love that he's just Redbeard in space, basically.
Does he
there
come
we go.
back? I don't remember. I
I
genuinely
think he
don't
does.
remember.
He does.
He does.
He
okay.
does.
I'm pretty sure he probably beefs it in one of the free.
You know who I confuse him with? I confuse him with Rick Duel.
Ah, yeah. That's
It's easy to do.
Yeah,
Rick Deal was much later.
For some reason, they just transpose in my brain. Like that design. When I see that, I'm like, oh, that's Rick Duel.
I feel like Crimson Jack is kind of similar to Sergi X Aragontis as like a character as well. The way they talk, they're just similar. They would probably vibe and get along really well.
I probably
They're
would.
both quite piratey.
Yeah.
And their fashion sense too. Luckily,
Well,
Sergi X is a little more modest with his trousers.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Well,
So, question.
yeah.
How do we feel about Howard Chaykin's art?
I think that Frank Springer, well, I've seen other work that he's done and it's pretty decent. I think that he was probably not the right choice for inker. I think Tom Palmer was probably a better inker. Overall, Chaykin, it's funny because Chaykin is known for doing extremely controversial stories. So when I first saw that he was the artist, I was like, oh my God, that's crazy. I think that it's still good in this issue. I think the other 3 issues are better, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I think they're a little bit messier, but Chaykin's art is messy. So I think there's a lot of cleanup being done here.
So, inker, is that what they mean by embellisher?
Yes.
Right.
I think that
Does that include color separator, or was that not a thing here?
I don't. I think the colorist would have done color separations here as well.
Okay.
Although it
Whoa.
depends on the era, I think.
I love the look of this this planet as seen here. Like it's distinct from Tatooine. It's
Wait.
instantly different. Those are
I
like
gotta-
grasslands and
a little
a
bit.
rock spire. It's cool.
Go
Domed
just a little bit
architecture.
more.
One
Up to the
thing-
top of the. Oh yeah, go for it.
Oh, I was just want to mention. So Han goes, "Hey, isn't that Buggy dressed like some kind of priest? Can identify the exact religion. I guess I shouldn't have skipped so much Sunday school as a kid."
I love that.
Oh yeah, I remember.
I guess. I guess.
That's iconic.
But you know what? That actually works because remember, episode 5, he says, "I'll see you in hell." So Corellia
That's true.
has some form of
They have 9.
Christianity-like religion.
Corellia has 9 hells apparently.
9
according to
hells?
the
Was
EU.
this Jacob's ladder? Oh my goodness! Oh, no dark.
Oh hey, what's up?
We'll get there, Matt. We'll get there in like a long time.
In
from
like
now, but we'll
5
get
years.
there. Yeah, we'll get there. Don't worry, and we'll see glorious Palpatine in all of his splendor for all to see. We might get demonetized.
Yeah, we could be. I love the Western aspect of these.
The
of
rolling
these
hills out
comics.
there and everything. It's very
rolling hills?
Western.
If you look at the caption box, it said there was a chromium rush, a false chromium rush. So a bunch of people
love it.
came here really quickly and then left just as quickly. That I think is a great little detail.
It's like
I
a
love that it's
ghost town,
chromium
but
rush.
as a planet. You know.
Yeah, it's so good, and I love the architecture. It looks.
Reminds me
it's
of
got the domes that you look
The
at.
way
that you see
Tatooine
in
is
Tatooine.
talked about in
Yeah.
Knights of the Old Republic.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just really love the Western stuff that is especially present before Empire. There's a lot more of it.
I think the art looks great here, and as Robert was asking about the art earlier, the art is great for this new planet, this new environment right off rip. And I think, like Al said, the art kind of gets better in issues 8, 9, 10. Maybe not by 10.
Yes.
10 it looked a little convoluted, but I think 8 and 9 it just looks really good. Like the sketches, and the colors might not be doing the art like huge favors, but it just kind of fits, I feel like.
Very pastel at the moment, which I'm fine
Yes,
with. I like
yes.
one of my
It's a
favorite
vibe.
comics
It's
is
kind of a
More
vibe.
Than Meets the Eye, where it's all pastels.
Brennan, what's this?
I
Do
do
you
not.
know?
I think that's an
What's up?
unidentified species.
Okay.
There's a lot of
orc.
species that are never identified in the Marvel comics, which kind of bugs me because it makes me want to go through and
Urukai.
name all of these species. Like the one on the right is an unidentified species. The bug guy's an unidentified species. The blue dude with the big ears is an unidentified species. There were lots of just random aliens at the time that would never get named. So I think a cool EU project would have been like giving species names to a lot of these aliens and expanding the lore behind them. I think that would have been dope.
That would be good.
Yeah.
Matt, to answer your question, the artist was Howard Chaykin still at the moment.
Oh, thanks, Matt. Matt's got the answers.
Oh, his reputation with names. Can we really trust him?
I think the alien designs in this era is a little bit hit and miss.
I would agree
I think
with that.
some of them are really good. I think the Urukai here, the purple guy, is probably a little bit of a miss. He kind of looks just like a guy,
Ugly human.
just like an ugly human. Yeah.
Gollum. It's a little Gollum.
He looks like a buff Gollum, which
Oh, definitely. Does he have any speaking lines? Oh, he doesn't. Or he does. He's right here. Too. Oh my goodness! Why are somebody screaming in my house? I'm sorry. Hold on. Hold on. I gotta do the. Give me a second. I gotta do this
He's
for the.
pulling out
fun.
the Gollum voice.
All right. Hold on. I don't know if I could do a full. Hold on. Glother, now pour that buggy down from there. He put no bugs in our mouth. Doesn't sound as solid.
That was actually pretty good.
pretty good.
I like
way better
that.
than I could do.
It's canon.
Yeah. Oh, I have a guest. There we go.
Oh, hey, what's up?
Look at this. Looking at
Hi,
comics.
Matt.
It's an all-star lineup.
Yeah.
It is an all-star
Matt.
lineup you got here.
Matt, who's your favorite of the Aduba 8? Who is it? Is it
Got
our good
Firefly
buddy
right
Jackson?
here.
Yes, all the way. The Aduba 8, the well-renowned Aduba 8, that I believe have some bronze statue located on Coruscant in one of its many streets there.
It has to be.
We shall never
Yeah.
forget the Aduba 8. Aren't they making T-shirts of these people at Legends Con?
No, but that's a
we
good
get
idea
t-shirts?
for
They should be.
crafting vendors.
I like the Firefly species right here from Batman.
I just want to know, Alex, who is your Aduba 8 if you have to go on a mission?
I'm either going with Jackson or I'm going with the girl who reminds me of Harley Quinn.
No, I mean you're going with Brennan.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Probably
Oh,
taking
us.
Scott.
Out of us.
Are you
Okay.
taking Marcel too? I'd imagine.
Probably, but are we?
Oh,
confident enough
you had to
succeed
think
in the
about
mission?
Marcel, huh?
No, I mean all of us. Like, are we gonna even be able to?
It's okay
succeed
if
in
you
the
don't trust
mission?
the Canadian. I understand.
What is that? Does anybody else hear that? I don't know. Maybe I'm going crazy.
I think
There was a thing that was happening, but it's gone now.
Look at the little furry circular dude behind the blue guy choking out the bug guy in the lower panel. What is that design? I think
like a bear without ears.
yeah, that's
It almost looks like an Ewok, but the sizing.
an
isn't quite
earless
right on it.
Ewok. An Ewok that had its ears removed. Yeah.
No, he has ears, I think, behind him.
he
They're
does?
kind of.
Oh, maybe it
Right.
does.
Oh, I can't.
Okay,
Matt,
so what?
that's a resident Ewok expert. Do you know?
What-
Is that
Wait,
an Ewok?
wait,
I
Brennan.
want to ask.
Go
Go ahead.
No, go. I was. You were
No,
trying
it's
to
your
speak.
stream, Alex. You go ahead.
No, I know. I was asking Brendan to wait because you said like you really wanted to say something. So
No. He can keep talking. Go ahead.
okay, then go, Brendan.
I will
patient.
defer to Matt. I'm curious what this joke is going to be.
It's not going to be a joke. I was just saying, what unidentified alien would you wish had a definition? I say this because I have one in mind that I've always wanted. I always wanted someone at Lucasfilm to give me an explanation of who it was, what type of species it was, and whatnot. And it's the alien that was featured in the 3PO's cereal commercial. Who
That's right.
was
Yep.
used from an unused mask that was not used in the cantina scene, I believe.
Yeah.
So they just used it. And I mean, he's infamous because he has his own commercial with C-3PO, but yet he was never explained to us who he was or what type of species it was.
Is that a bear?
How would you explain that commercial in universe in a canon situation?
C-3PO and R2 were advertising for the Rebel Alliance. They were advertising Rebel Alliance cereal. If you buy the cereal, the profits all are donated to the rebels so they can keep their lights on, keep repairing their ships, and keep fighting the Empire.
Scott,
That's
Scott,
like a Cobra Commander tier scheme. That's like, I have to have sentient chewing gum or whatever to take over the world. Like,
they got to eat breakfast somehow. Why not have some 3POs? And Scott, it took place when 3PO and R2 were on loan to Star Tours.
Okay, I like that
They
idea.
made them
Connection
hawk
to
other
Star Tours.
goods.
It worked.
They
makes
made
a lot
them
of
hawk
sense.
other goods. And since 3PO had a name for himself, they tried to market 3POs, which failed in the general market and is off shelves. It may fetch a lot on the secondary market.
Before we
This-
get to
something-
the stuff on this page,
But Lando
you-
eats his cereal with hot chocolate,
Of course.
as do they all.
before we talk about this page, I hope you don't mind me doing a brief tangent here.
No, of
on
course not.
on the page where Han loses the treasure to Crimson Jack, Han says, "Well, there it goes, Chewie. Without that treasure, Jabba will soon have a price on our heads that'll make us the target of every bounty hunter this side of Aquilay." Now, that's not actually an invention of the Marvel series. That name's from an early draft of the A New Hope script.
Interesting.
that is famously featured in that quote that Mark Hamill hates so much. He talks about every chance he gets that interview where he's like, the defenses won't be any stronger here than they would be on Aquilay or whatever. that super famous speech that he hates giving, and he begged George Lucas to take out of the movie. Yeah. Yeah, it's a funny detail.
Robert. Thanks for sharing. And I'd also like to point out this scene where they're dragging away the dead cowboy is reminiscent of Magnificent Seven's opening, almost a 1-to-1 opening. The beginning is the gunslinger comes into town. They're wheeling the dead guy out to the cemetery, so it's almost a 1-to-1 recreation, which I thought was really cool.
Something I think works very well in retrospect with the prequels. At least you can make it work very well if you're willing to do a little bit of good faith extension. Is the droid hatred, because there's a lot of that in the Marvel era. I think that goes right up to like Return of the Jedi, and after is the droid hatred stuff. And I think if you're willing to look at it from a perspective of the prequels, where the separatists wiped out however many species, they wiped out Humbrain or whatever, you can see where that comes from. And I think it adds sort of an unintentional layer up there. Sorry, Robert.
Issue 108 does a bit of that. With
that's right.
It's interesting because they could have made a big giant story arc if they'd have kept that, because that was what they touched on this in New Jedi Order, about the life of droids being sent and everything. And it would have been nice to incorporate Marvel. That's a good point. To incorporate those Marvel comic books about how 3PO's probably witnessed some of that over the years. The anti-droid sent.
I love the dude back there with the vibro axe too. Swing with the big tentacle arms swinging the axe down, just great. Yes. There's so much fun. That it's just such a fun arc, I think, and that's why I really like Aduba 3. It's just fun. It's just easygoing and just enjoyable to read this comic. I'm gonna have to head out. See you guys later.
Good seeing you.
Thanks, Brennan.
See you.
Bye, Brennan.
Bye, Brennan.
I will say this issue has a very strange-looking bantha.
Right. Poor guy's bleeding now.
Yeah, it's like a bantha that shaved his face.
Yeah, it doesn't. He gets the design right in the next issue, which is interesting. Mm-hmm. But right. Yeah.
Do we have a name for this species? It looks like the Firefly bad guy from Batman,
though. That is Linsger Field. There we go.
Did you make that up? Sounds like you made that up.
It could be.
Yeah. I think Matt may have made a joke in his original reviews of these comics. I don't remember. But if you notice down here, they talk about like woman, like being attracted to everything, and like Chewie's gonna like go hit on one, which is unfortunate considering he is married.
Maybe Wookiee Society.
There's swingers on vines and there's swingers in love. So
maybe Wookiee Society isn't. Maybe they're like people. That's like pets. You could do whatever you want with those. So it's
okay. So I just checked. Omni-Man. The priest was later retconned in Star Wars Gamer as a Verpine.
Oh, that does not look like a Verpine.
That's not like a Verpine
that's
at all.
A huge stretch, but
early the
maybe it's wearing a mask.
He has fingers. Like Verpines don't have fingers. When he hands them the money,
I'm willing to accept it over just like not having anything, but that one.
Is she like one of those people that George Lucas was in one of the prequel movies?
Oh yeah,
Pantonian.
Yeah,
Pantoran.
Yeah. Sure. Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, maybe I don't know.
I love that. Yeah, that would work.
Yeah.
There's a red woman in there too. They could say that's a Zeltron.
Maybe. Yeah.
Which is funny because Zeltrons were an invention of this series, just much later.
She's got Vulcans.
She's got a matching plunger on her head. Matches her bodysuit there.
I like these guys look like Vulcans. I don't know if I'm correct, but that'd be a funny crossover. Look, they got the pointy ears.
It looks like they're wearing bathrobes. Did they just come out of the shower? What's going on?
And then this lady right here looks like a mix of like Thor and like a gnome.
Oh yeah, she's got like a little. You ever see like in like real stereotypical fantasy books, whatever? Like the princess got the little thing on top of her head, little cone, little traffic cone. She's kind of got
Looks
that,
like-
but also like
Yeah.
Looks a bit like Chewbacca just rescued her from a tower.
Yeah, a
Indeed.
little bit. But is this lady meant to be like, because these are the 70s, right? So I don't know if she's meant to be like a person of color, but like actually, I know everybody's like colorful in here, but that'd be pretty
She
good
treated
for the
person
70s.
of color, orange.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, listen, I don't
They're
know.
both women of color.
No,
Yeah.
One's
Yeah.
yellow, one's orange.
Yeah. I was gonna say it was pretty cool for the 70s if it was, but I don't know. I think it's just an orange person, and I'm reading too much into it.
yeah,
Yeah.
The 70s weren't great about that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
No.
it was the
Besides
time.
Star Trek, but other than that,
Well, this is a great cover though. This is one of my favorite Marvel covers. It's so good.
You have this one.
Yeah. This is.
I do
great.
have this one. I forgot to get it. I forgot to bring it, but that's
This
all
is the one we're gonna voice act though for sure. Look, we got Rocket Raccoon right here, and Sasquatch. She looks way more plump in here than she does in the actual. She looks fat here.
older there as well.
Yeah, she looks old and
looks
fat,
like-
but she's not in the actual issue.
Han's got real muscular legs. Look at that. Look at that. That's
He's
some
always
good
running.
definition.
He's always
He is.
running. So
yeah, just a great cover.
So Jackson's meant to be 6 feet tall.
I guess so. He's still shorter than Chewie. Well, this guy right here is pretty cool. And then
So those 3 guys on the right are meant to be the same 3 guys from the end of the previous issue.
Yeah.
oh yeah, you're right.
I
That's weird.
I really think that the inker kind of went nuts. No disrespect to Frank Springer, but I do think just given the difference between them, and given Chaykin's previous work, I want to say that he may have had a bit of a Vince Coletta situation where he was just kind of going for it. And the deadline was coming up, and he's like, we're gonna make this bantha look like a big ram, and that's gonna be close enough.
I
it
like
happens.
how this
but when
guy's
you're
are
a kid and
discount
these are.
Luke.
Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I was just saying I like how he's basically our discount Luke for this story.
Yes.
Instead of just having Luke join in.
And when you're a kid and these are coming out every month, by the way, I don't think people minded because it was.
No.
If you notice, the target group for this back in the day was kids.
Yeah.
There weren't that many grown adults going out buying the latest. I mean, there were some teenagers definitely interested in it, interested, but it was a different time back then. And to have an opening splash page like that is just a great way to bring your reader in. Of course, catch them up what happened in the last issue. There were no, and at least smaller, there were no, comic book stores. If you missed this on the drugstore rack, within those few months it may have stayed there, then you're kind of catching on the middle of the story. And so they need to like refresh you. And I don't know if that means people were, it's true. They did it completely different, but I'm just, when I look back over this and look back over the artwork that Marvel Comic Books had, they did a great job. And so their storytelling, and even for kids, this is for kids. And this is not dumbed down. There's a lot of big words in there, but kids aren't stupid. And that's what I feel like. They feel like, I hate that people treat the readers as stupid now and have to spoon feed them everything. And we're not stupid. We've read this before. I just, maybe the writers have gotten dumbed down, but you said this was a Magnificent Seven-esque story. And that's exactly what it's supposed to be. And back then you brought those stories and just reimagined them as Star Wars. There's what's his name? Don
Juan Quixote.
Yeah, Don Juan Quixote. So there's a lot of references. You'll see them peppered through Marvel comic books, the old school Star Wars books, but they are fun. There's a charm to them, like you were saying earlier.
Got like a beaver pimp right here or something.
Oh, something to expand off what you said, Matt. This is the era of Stan Lee's mandate, where every comic is somebody's first. So every first issue you'd get a little update on the story. And while that could be like tedious to some, I actually really like that. Especially here, you get to see characters' perspectives on the events. Sometimes you only get a little bit of insight, but that can really flesh out some of these characters.
And I'll let you know, for poor people like myself growing up, you read the comic book and then you put it back on the rack while your mom was shopping. Then you waited for next month and you read that one, and you might not have them kept on you. I knew one guy who collected Marvel comic books, but because he didn't have them all, he had a short. I don't remember what issues he had, but I was gonna read them all, but then realized he didn't have issue number 1. I wanted to start issue number 1 and go all the way through it. But I mean, you at that point, what was that, the early 80s or whatnot? You'd have had to keep up with 6 years worth of books by then. 84, 85. That dude didn't keep up with all that many, but I was impressed. And I don't remember any episodes I saw. All I know is that he had some comic books, and he had, one of y'all can help me. What is the orange cover? The original cover for Han Solo with the orange one. Han Solo's Revenge. It's orange background.
Han Solo at Star's End.
No, it had. Is that the orange?
No, I think it was Revenge for the orange one. There's 3 of them. I think it was
the original hardback.
Yeah,
he had that as well, and I grabbed. I was like, "Can I borrow this?" I was like, "Oh my gosh, a Han Solo!" Because I didn't know.
There you go.
Well, there you go.
And he said, "Sure." And then he said it takes place before Star Wars. And I remember I put it back on. I was a kid. I put it back on the shelf. I was like, well, who cares what happened before that? And here we are. Yeah.
So we have this beaver guy put these needles or quills at poor Han over here, asking him to go on a mission.
Porcupine guy?
Yeah, porcupine.
I mean, beavers have quills too.
He's a little bit of a precursor, because he's a blue, like, hedgehog type character before Sonic.
Secretly, what you don't know is this is a Vong spy.
Ooh. Doesn't he die off screen at some point in between this issue and not this issue, the in between this arc and the next? I vaguely remember they just like, oh, he died on the way back or something like that.
They just say he died on the way back? They didn't show it?
Yeah, you get like one panel of a flashback. It's like, oh yeah, Hedge died on the way here. I think so. I'd have to look. I could have sworn they said something that crazy, but I have to look.
And then we get introduced to Harley Quinn.
Oh yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
Now that is peak 1970s character design.
Yeah. But she reminds me of Harley Quinn. So when I read it for the first time, I read it with her voice.
I think she's cool. I think she's probably the strongest character out of this group, like just as a character.
Yeah. Yeah.
In my notes, I've got, why is Han wearing no shirt?
That's good.
Well, he was like in his like a kind of like hotel room, and then that guy came in and started talking to him, and he just didn't put a shirt on while he was talking to him.
But they are holding like tryouts. They are like going through candidates.
Yeah. Basically. But yeah, so we have that, and she's also got like cat eyes, which is interesting.
Yeah, that's nice.
Yes.
Oh, and then
an early example of a near human species.
Al, do you want to be the voice of Don Juan Canote?
Sure.
Sure. I'll let you give his little spiel here if you want.
I'm gonna have to use my D&D character's voice because I can't do Spanish, but I can almost do French. So we're gonna have to settle for that. And none of this, I am a true Jedi, master of the Force and wielder of the lightsaber. Thus, it is my sacred duty to travel the galaxy, champion causes of peace and justice. I pray you let me join you, young sir, in whatever holy mission you undertake, that I may continue to be worthy of the name Jedi Knight.
That was beautiful. Thank you so much.
Bravo.
Thank you.
And that man an Oscar.
Yeah, there you go.
For that.
And you got Han being like, he's crazy. The Jedi died years ago.
You just met one like a week ago, man.
Yeah. I don't know what he's. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, Han's funny.
I guess he met the last one. I
Jedi as a
guess, just yeah.
as a sect of people.
And then we meet the Jackson boy, our favorite, the one that everybody made fun of until he came into new canon comics. Now nobody says anything. But yeah, my favorite guy. I ain't no rodent, Captain. You know, probably he's got like a New Yorker. He sounds like Bugs Bunny.
He sounds like Bugs Bunny.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I ain't no New Yorker, Captain.
Actually, you know what, Matt? Since you're here, can you please
I can't
give us
read
a little
it.
bit of
It's
that?
too small on
Yeah.
the screen.
Oh, okay.
I would
fair
if
enough.
I could. I would
I
if
forgot
I could.
that Matt's getting on the older side.
No, it's on my cell phone. How am I supposed to read it? So tiny.
I'm kidding.
Everything's so tiny. Please,
That's fair.
Captain, take me with you. I'm Jackson. Get this man to foot. I don't know.
Yeah.
I never minded
Not-
Jackson. Yeah, sure, he's kind of silly looking, a green space rabbit. And I believe George hated him.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is why he doesn't make a comeback. But he never really bothered me. He was just there for fun. It's a comic book. Kids probably were attracted to him. Space bunny rabbit. Why not? You know.
Yeah.
I mean,
Bes-
you know, there's
besides
already
looking all
there wa-
pitiful, he's drawn seriously.
wasn't there a big praying mantis in the cantina? So like, you know, we already have big things of real things. So
I mean, we just, again, like I said earlier, this is the same universe where we have talking cats. Like I don't see a rabbit being out of
Cats,
norm
tigers.
franchise.
Yeah.
I think if Bugs Bunny didn't exist, Jackson
Yeah.
would be okay. If they changed his outfit's a little crazy too. He's
Yeah.
like wearing white shoes and the white gloves. It's a little bit
a lot,
too
yeah.
too Mickey Mousey.
I think if it was somebody who was drawing had a little bit of a different style, who wasn't so much of like a satirical kind of guy like Howard Chaykin is, and drew him to just where he kind of looks like a rabbit, I don't think anyone would have a problem with it. I don't think anyone would have even noticed. But then he wouldn't be famous and people wouldn't like him. So that's the trade-off.
And
Yeah.
Scott, it's interesting the point you make about Jackson's wear, because I always just imagine him as that was just an astronaut outfit. You know.
Okay. I could see that. He's got like
gloves.
a space.
No, but I
laser.
see what I'm just saying. I see what you mean now, but I always thought, astronaut outfit. But you're kind of right.
Yeah, it's a little too slim. It's like he's exactly like Bugs Bunny. I mean, if you made his fur white, he would just be a regular giant rabbit. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's fair.
I think I'm correct in saying Jackson was the reason Roy Thomas's run ended so quickly.
That could be.
That might be a reason. I don't know if it is a reason, but definitely would make sense. The only thing important in these panels is that Leia and Luke mentioned that like Darth Vader knows who they are, which sets up the whole they need to leave Yavin, but they won't do that forever. But that's something important.
Oh, here's the recap page. Here's the recap of the movie page, which is
If you didn't watch the movie,
Well, also remember that the only time you got to see the movie was in theaters.
that's true.
So like home video rentals, that wasn't a thing. You had to catch it on ABC special maybe later on, and sometimes you would forget certain scenes, or you'd have to be remembered what went on. So I don't blame them at all for doing stuff like that, because back then you couldn't just YouTube it, or stream it, or just remind you, or we've seen it so many times.
Well, I mean, and that goes back to Stan's motto: is every comic's somebody's first. It could be that you've never even seen the movie. However unlikely it is, there are people who hadn't seen the movie. I mean, it was the year it came out, so there were plenty of people who hadn't seen it.
Yeah, I'm sure there were people.
They saw Jackson. They thought that's a great character. I can already tell, and they picked it up. So you have to have some kind of context.
There's the
If they
original
said,
Star
"Whoa,
Killer.
not in the movie." Alex, I will have to hop off. I'm so sorry.
That's okay. I appreciate you
But thank
coming
you.
on for
Thank
the
you.
short
Thank
time.
Thank you for allowing me. Gentlemen, thanks for letting me be a part of the show here.
Good seeing you.
Good seeing you, Matt.
Likewise. Good to be seen. All right. I'll see you guys later.
Bye-bye.
Have a good
Alrighty. Well, we're making it our ways through. We should be done in a little bit. But I just like we got the Star Killer here, which would be reused later as a name.
So this issue was inked by Tom Palmer, I believe.
Yes.
I think so.
Who would go on to be a major artist much later in the series during David Michelinie and Joe Duffy's runs.
Yes. I think I'm willing to give the previous inker Frank Springer a little bit of the benefit of the doubt and just say because this isn't the Shooter era. I think we're still a little bit before Shooter came in, but this is the era of Marvel needing to crack down on deadlines. I'm willing to give him the benefit of the doubt that it was a deadline thing, because it's just
And that is how Banthas should look.
Yes.
Also, Jackson, as Scott was just talking about, he looks much better here, I think. He looks a little bit less cartoony. I mean, he's still in the same outfit, but I think that looks a lot better than the previous issue where it was like so cartoony.
Reminds me a little bit of Watto here. He's got that down on his luck kind of drunken look a little bit.
Oh yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. No, I see that. I think part of the outfit's problem is it's too bright. Like I like that it's colorful, but it's a little bit too colorful. I think that it could have been toned down, and then it would have fit a lot better. I like that Don Juan is just wearing armor.
Yeah, just like literally, he's literally a knight, like an actual knight.
Awesome.
I
love this. This is very Marvel action. This is very of the time Marvel action. Is like nothing's happening this issue. Throw in a random attack by birds and have some kind of fight.
These are terrifying looking.
Oh,
I'm surprised they never came back
like
to an actual like novel.
They look like what's it called? Like the things from this is not a great comparison. They look like some out of Return to Oz. If anybody's seen that movie.
Yeah, I hate that movie. It's terrified me. It's one of the scariest movies I've ever seen, and I watch a lot of horror movies.
But yeah, they're fighting here. There's some good banter. Don Juan chops this one in half.
Han has that. Let me point my blaster at my own shoulder so we can fit it in the panel.
All right.
He gets to save a blonde.
He saves this girl in the middle of a peach orchard. I don't know what those are supposed to be. I mean, they're alien fruits, so they're not supposed to be anything. But yeah. And they get here, and then everybody. So all right. So we get the answer to my previous question as to why everyone was wearing robes. Apparently, everyone in the society is just naked all the time. So when they went into town, they had to put the robes on. All right, okay, I understand now.
Yeah, a little decency for you. That makes sense.
Then we cut back to Luke and Leia for like the few times we're here for some reason.
Yeah, I really think that these sections with Luke and Leia just don't work at all. And I love Luke; he's my favorite character. But he has nothing to do with the story.
I think it makes sense that they had to include Luke and Leia just because this is a Star Wars comic. You expect to see them in here in some form or fashion. I just don't think they did it right. It was a little disjointed, and I would have preferred to just have this Aruba arc on its own and then introduce Luke and Leia later on. I think that would have worked much better.
Great panel of Jackson there, but yeah, no, that I agree.
That is like the biggest troll face I've ever seen. That's insane that was like drawn in here. It's crazy.
I love the design of Sergi. How do you say it? Where is the thing?
Sergi X Arrogantus.
Sergi X Arrogantus.
The arrogant.
I love his design. He doesn't like the Arrogantus name. I can't imagine why. Oh yeah, some great action with the and the droid gets blasted. That's great. That's awesome. We love that.
So when Mary, that's the girl's name, when her grandfather appeared earlier, I have him written in my notes as Jonah Hexface.
Yes, because he's got the thing going over his lip. Yes.
Oh, by the way, Al, can I have you read that
Mhm.
final panel in your illustrious voice?
Oh, sure. Give me just a second. I have to. All right. I, in the name of righteousness, use it I shall.
Thank you.
Sees the blade-like beam appear at the touch of a button, and it's a yellow lightsaber. At least, kind
Awesome.
of.
Yeah.
Kind of. It's a little bit inconsistent.
Yeah, that's all these early Marvel issues. That's kind of like just Marvel era in general. Is inconsistent lightsabers. And he's raising the Godzilla thing. It's more like Godzilla 1998, but when you need a Godzilla, you're not going to be too choosy. Yeah, that's great.
And then, this is a cute little thing.
Leia is like sitting in a very strange position.
Yeah, like a kid. But then also, look at freaking Chewie. Does not want to be there. That's crazy. And then our final issue for the day. Issue 10.
Yeah. This is another great
cover. Chewie, the whole planet is doomed. Not to mention us. Sorry.
No, you're good. That's good. Man, look at that. Look at that creature. That's awesome.
You know what?
I will say that while the page
better...
is admittedly very crowded, I think it does a very good job of conveying scale.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely.
How do we feel about so they seemingly can't fight off Sergi's Arrogantus's gang, so they bring in the monster. How do we feel about that? Or we would rather have because we kind of solve one plot to start a new one, and I think that was a little bit. It feels like it kind of drags after a certain point. I like the monster. I think the monster looks really cool, but we may could have done without it. How do you guys feel about that? That might be a controversial.
I would, I agree with you, Al. I think they should have done it another way. I don't really have a good idea of how they should have done it. Maybe introduce some speeders or some kind of cool vehicle, some tank or something. I would have preferred they introduced something else with the gang that would they would come back with something a little bit more powerful to fight them back with. Not just the same old. But
right.
Yeah.
It's definitely a much better random monster here than in TCW when it's on Coruscant.
So, yeah, that's another Godzilla thing. Yeah.
So they brought on Don Glutt for this issue.
Did they? I didn't even see that. I missed that.
Oh wait, let me go back.
As inker?
No, scriptwriter.
Oh, okay. Oh, maybe Roy Thomas. Although Roy Thomas is a pretty basic guy, so it's also possible that he just didn't have the time, or George was so irritated that he.
Because Don's a good friend of George, so that gives you a sense that George was actually looking at this stuff. So he's like, "Hey, you go in there and straighten it out." I don't know if he necessarily didn't like what he was seeing there, but he had some input for sure.
Oh yeah, I like all the shots of Arrogantus's face there. They just
This guy looks like Carnus Moore for some reason. I know he's not, but he looks like Carnus Moore before Carnus Moore was created.
And then bam, stomped.
Yeah, I like how that's supposed to be like a blam, like he squashed him, but you could totally see that as blood if you wanted to.
You also get a little splat. You get a little splat, a tasteful splat.
A little tasteful splat.
Okay, there's now at this point, Jackson looks like a like a Ralph Bakshi character at this point. We're starting to see the Howard Chaykin-ness. We're starting to see the Howard Chaykin-ness like sort of get through the cracks of this very Marvel comic book.
I did find it a bit funny that Don Juan seemingly died in the previous issue after getting shot in the back, but in this
he
one,
just stands up.
It's just a flesh wound.
Nope, he's fine.
Just a flesh wound.
Yeah, literally. I mean, they got back there, but he doesn't have time for that yet. So,
his armor has to account for something, right?
Yeah, that's true. That's true. He was wearing armor for no reason, so may as well have a reason.
Apparently, Jackson has 79 siblings.
Wait. Where are we seeing it? Oh,
bottom left panel.
Like my mother told all 80 of us kids, it never worked out. Marry a nice girl from a nice borough, and I love him.
They really lean into the rabbit aspect of Jackson.
I mean, I don't mind it. I think it's funny.
Oh no, there are rabbits in Ewoks. So
yeah,
in is it in Caravan of Courage? It might have been the
yes.
I like the go back for just a second, Alex.
No problem.
There's a
they also make something like 3 references to Jackson's tail, which we either it doesn't exist or we don't see it.
Maybe he has it wrapped around like a sand.
He could just wear it in the shorts and just like sit on it there,
I mean, like in the Dragon Ball Z, I know that's an anime, but like they just kind of like wrap it around their waist. So he could do that if he has one.
Go down just a little bit. That panel with Don Juan. Look at that. He almost looks like a skeleton in that panel.
Definitely, I see it.
That's really good. I like that. I like the design of the armor, but he's got the this right here is what inspired my current D&D character. This is I saw that and I was like, that looks great. That looks like a fun character.
I mean, he actually looks like a kind of like a lot of Japanese movies. They got like the mentor, like he looks a lot like a lot of those types of roles, where they give him the stereotypical like bald face and the same sort of mustache and beard. Like they always have to have that. So I think that kind of works for what they were going for.
Something I didn't catch on immediately too. It took me like a couple of scenes here. Is the Godzilla thing is the kaiju thing is shooting lasers out of the top of its head.
Oh yeah,
yes.
I was gonna comment on that, but you guys were talking, so I let it go. But that's kind of wacky thing, you gotta say.
It is a bit strange. I don't mind it though.
Al, 1977. Would these issues have been written using the Marvel method?
Probably, almost certainly. In fact, it might, but it's probably not like the Stan Lee method where it's just a sentence. It probably is like a full plot, and then the artist went off.
Right.
I also kind of vibe with Han's like yellow gloves here. Kind of thinking.
Yeah, they brought back the yellow gloves.
Looks good. Also, before we go on to the next panel, can I again have Al do this quote from Don Juan?
All right. You hear their jeers, Behemoth. They think Don Juan Quixote to be too old for the noble art of combat. Yea, even one of so advanced years is still as one with the force, which permits even these stiff and weary bones to evade whatever hell-spawned bolts you might hurl towards me.
Thank you. That is just beautiful. Just beautiful.
I apologize to all French people for all time. Look at that creature. I just love that monster. the behemoth.
Yeah.
So so we're still like very firmly in the era of these are Marvel Star Wars. I think, and one of the reasons I prefer the Empire era to the New Hope era is Empire starts to feel more like Marvel Star Wars, sort of a balance between them.
That's a fair assessment.
That is true, but I will say there's been quite a lot of monsters in the Star Wars expanded universe. I mean, you look at like Leviathan, you look at a lot of the other comics in particular. There's a lot of monsters in there, so I don't feel like it's too out there. Like this could be just any franchise at all. I feel like it's close enough to Star Wars that it actually makes sense for me. I think they did a good job kind of matching it up to Star Wars here.
I agree.
Yeah.
The only reason I say that is a lot of it is the designs, a lot of it is the plots, right?
Yeah.
Like in a few future issues, the Tag family tries to build like a freeze ray effectively on Tatooine. I'm pretty sure. Which, to be fair, that sounds like something the Empire would do, but that is also something that Doctor Doom would do. But I like that. I like that you feel the Marvelness of these issues. I think that makes them feel really unique, especially in comparison to the succeeding eras of Marvel Comics, and then especially Dark Horse, of course. Because Dark Horse, they're trying to match the movies, they're trying to make it feel like Star Wars, whereas this is like, these are Marvel Comics. These are supposed to feel like the other Marvel. They're supposed to feel like X-Men. They're supposed to feel like Spider-Man and Avengers. All these things. It doesn't quite, which is why I still really like the Marvel era. Oh, this specifically is. It's like Scott said. We have a lot of monsters. We have a lot of things. But there's still like a respect for the Star Wars universe. They're trying to like use some of the threads of the movie. A lot of the aesthetic ideas, like the Western stuff, like I keep coming back to. I love that they're leaning on that aspect of it. I love that they came up with the chaotic Jedi thing. That is great. I think that's awesome. I wish we saw more of that. Honestly, we kind of see it a few more times in this era, but no, I think this is a really, really strong start for the Marvel Comics as a new story. But yeah.
Absolutely concur with that assessment. But yeah, I mean, we only went through 4 issues. I'm amazed we got to an hour. I thought it would have been way shorter than that. But it is a good start to what this series would be. Give you sort of an expectation. I don't think I really took them necessarily super seriously because of kind of the structure of it. But I also wasn't like completely uninvested either. So I think it had a good balance for the year it came out. It definitely feels like a 70s comic, but it also just vastly starts expanding the universe, and I appreciate that a lot.
This being the expanded universe, you'll probably be unsurprised to hear that they did later give the Behemoth a backstory and everything.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Where?
This is in the Star Wars Gamer.
Oh, okay.
So this is from Wikipedia. The Behemoth from the world below was the name given to a Sith-spawn monster that lived on the planet Aduba 3 during the Galactic Civil War.
Makes sense.
Once a normal lizard, it was transformed into a hulking monster in an alchemical experiment by Sith Lord Sevis Var in an effort to create a Jedi-killing beast. Although the Behemoth showed promise, Var's death in the new Sith Wars meant that the experiment was abandoned on Aduba 3 for centuries, slumbering beneath the earth.
All right.
So explain the lasers.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. That's pretty
Do you have any
actually.
final thoughts on the on this arc?
I pretty much agree with the rest of you. I think it's a good start. I think they captured particularly Han and Chewie well, but the new characters they created, they gave believable backstories, enough differentiation to really set them apart, even if they were from the general Western theme. I thought they gave them enough personality to where they're memorable. And I think it's a good start. I think I look forward to going on through the next few comics of the Marvel run here.
I agree. Look forward to going through it with all of you. And Robert, any final, Al, or are you all about?
I think I got my. So how about you, Robert?
Let's see if there's anything in my notes I've forgotten to mention. We've got Jabba the Hutt with 1 T. Did find it a bit funny that they referred to the cyborg as a Borg.
Oh,
Resistance is futile. It always
I
has.
put-
it really is.
I put Chewie cheating on Mala, ?
It's rough out there, He's got to be away for so long. Got to give him some slack.
Amazer. She didn't get her last name until later then, right?
I don't think so.
They
I
spell
didn't even know she
lightsaber.
came back.
They spell lightsaber differently.
The English spell, or the British spelling, rather.
Yes. Jim the Starkiller Kid. Obviously, we know that that's a significant name.
Yeah.
And what else? Wodanian Wood Sprite. I did look that up. I think the planet did make it into the Essential Atlas, I think, but nothing much
Nice.
apart from that.
Mhm.
And hang on. One thing I should check. Hedgie's referred to as a Spiner. Does he have an actual species name?
Not positive.
It's probably like 50-50, honestly. That's a lot of these Marvel. They would just kind of create things and not really specify what they were. Yeah. Which,
It's okay. Leaves room for it to get filled out later if we ever get more.
right.
Yeah, you have to remember it. Go ahead.
They're from the planet Walkser, apparently.
Something. And something new every day.
Worxer.
Well, I do think we're about spent on most of what we wanted to talk about for these particular issues. So I think we can call it a day for this live stream.
I think that's fair enough.
Yeah.
Only other thing is there is a brief mention of Bestine.
What's that?
I thought they
That
were talking
is-
about the capital of Tatooine, but that's a planet, isn't it? As well?
Yes.
So
Well-
Bestine's the planet that Biggs mentioned in New Hope, or the deleted scene, I believe.
Oh, yeah. Okay. That's cool. I like that they integrate things that were cut out and put them into canon, which is definitely what they were going for. Yeah. And I think it was meant to be canon up until the novel started coming out, and then it got confused, and then finally got settled when Kevin J. Anderson started.
Right, and
Yes.
it's in the novel too, so it definitely was.
Here it is.
Okay.
Bestine is from that deleted scene where Biggs tells Luke that he plans to join the Alliance.
They the great thing about Roy Thomas, which anybody who reads things like All-Star Squadron or Justice Society or Invaders would find out, is that he is a big continuity nut. So he probably said, "Ooh, here are some tidbits that are not in the movie that I can use for my script. It's a shame that he didn't write it later, because we probably could have got a lot better, a lot more interesting connections.
Well, presumably they had access to the script, or at least a version of it from having done the adaptation.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, the first start off to really, truly expand universe material. As we did talk about stuff in the previous episode, however, that was a bunch of stuff that I kind of pick and chose that weren't directly in 1977, but were related to A New Hope. Here is like publication-wise something that would have immediately followed the film itself. And so it's really cool to finally see the beginnings of what would become the expanded universe. And we'll see more of it next time. Thank you all so much for watching. Thank you everyone who came and joined. Those who are still with me, Scott, Robert, Al, and of course, Brennan and Matt. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you so much for having us.
Yes.
Until next time. Bye-bye, everyone.
Yeah.